yourself could do
Light safe.
These magics are not for you.
Knockback, then pairs.
Warriors forged in my own image. Now to take your measure.
Boss is doing
Pair it
dark.
up. Don't ask me how that worked, Vic. We're going to A.
We looked fine on my screen, for what it's worth. And this is the white jury.
For victory!
Ow. 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 Ow.
That's a really good
Ow.
person.
No, not really.
You're not watching the health bars. Shut the hell
I
up.
was watching the health bars. They never went below 75%.
Yeah, you were doing a
You know,
good
except
job.
for that one person who dipped under 50.
We are going to orange.
Will light embrace or darkness?
Boss is doing dark divisive. We will pair up. Okay, don't ask me how that one worked.
Yeah, I won't.
Will light embrace or darkness consume?
In.
Wait upheld. All in. Now out. Alright, here we go. Watch your
I am the
tethers.
innocent, and I shall never die.
Gotcha, buddy. How you doing?
Hey-oh.
Light safe. Dark jury. I hate that.
Now to take your measure.
East-west. Stay out. And don't move afterwards.
Stay planted, stay planted, stay planted. Stay planted.
Worthy to exist.
Okay, now you can go.
For victory.
Hot window. Ow. 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 Ow.
How transcendent. The flames of battle.
Yep, dark current. Yeah, I saw. Light jury.
Light.
We're not dead.
Will light embrace or darkness?
Light upheld. Light divisive.
It's getting all the luck today.
Thank God the 50-50s here don't mess up timings.
That's not good.
Yeah, I had to throw hollows on that. That's not good.
I have technician for the sticks after.
Good. We're gonna fucking need it.
I have reprisal and missionary too.
I must fashion more.
Letter.
Also gonna need something special for this too.
MSF himself could
Dark
be
safe.
more than-
No, light safe, light safe, light safe, light safe. Ignore me.
Oh shit.
Wait for it.
Go! Launch your
Towers.
towers, then east and west immediately.
East, west now. East, west now.
These magics are not for you.
Dismissal
Knock
going
back.
out.
Knock back now.
And
Oh,
it's light.
yum.
It's light. It's light.
I think Pingobi.
From beyond.
Pingobi. Pingobi. Doing it.
God, that is king.
Maybe
Yeah, it
unnecessary,
really is.
but
Mm-hmm. I'd rather just not think about it.
Point taken. Light stream.
We are going to Bravo.
Will light embrace or darkness?
Dark divisive. Pairing up. Pairing up.
Launch that laser.
I'm dead. Yo.
Why?
Gio, what the fuck?
No. Geo was second in aggro because they were never reset the second in aggro.
Era, I'm
Yep.
going to shove my foot so far up your ass.
All good, all good.
Relax.
Keep going, keep going, keep going.
Jury.
Desire.
Light jury. Light jury. Light jury. Light jury.
Fuck.
Thanks for popping the TV Ed, buddy.
Long have I
Problem
dreamed.
saving beyond.
Okay, this is it. This raid wide, then enrage.
Ignore the heals, just go damage.
But every dream must come to an end.
We're not making it.
Just keep trying.
Yeah, no, we're not.
Yeah, no, 0.4.
That was my fault. That stupid fucking death, even though I knocked back.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
All good, all good. I forgot the pot at the end. That's also on me.
I don't. That would have been 0.4% though.
I don't say.
My heart withers in anticipation.
Dark Jury.
Will light embrace or darkness?
Light upheld.
I'm gonna go a little south.
Now to take your measure.
Dark Divisive, pair up.
MSL himself could do no better.
Dark Safe.
These magics are not for you to...
Knockback. Stay out.
Warriors forged in my own.
Messengers.
Now to take your measure.
Staying out.
And this is Light Jury.
For victory.
Ow. 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 Ow.
You're going to one.
Will light embrace or darkness?
Boss is doing Dark Divisive. We will be pairing up.
Bahamut scared the crap out of me.
Will light embrace or darkness consume?
Dark upheld, dark upheld, dark upheld. Going into tether shenanigans.
Everyone's favorite.
I am the emissary, and I shall never die.
Dark Safe.
For victory!
Light Jury.
East-west.
Now to take your measure.
Light divisive.
It's a little crooked, but we should be fine.
Do not move. I repeat, do not move.
Remain in position. Remain in position.
Worthy to exist.
Right,
Remain in
take aggro
position.
back. Take
Yeah,
aggro back after the
Move.
Yeah, I'm doing it.
No, take it back.
Hot window.
How transcendent. The flames of battle. Now to take your measure.
Dark Jury.
Will light embrace or darkness?
Dark
crush
upheld.
you?
Arrow, what are you doing here?
It's fine.
Yeah, it turned out fine.
For victory.
Light divisive.
I must fashion more robust champions. MXL himself could do
You're
no
like
better.
4% higher than last time. Go, go, go! Immediately east-west.
Wait. Now.
These magics are not for
Knockback.
Impaired.
power from beyond.
Light stream.
You're going to.
Will light embrace or darkness crush
Dark
you?
divisive. Pairing up.
Yes, it's coming up.
Looks to have picked tanks this time. Hots in 5.
It's gonna be dead in a second.
My deepest
Please do the mechanic.
Don't even have to.
Oh.
Let's go.
Yeah, the
Okay.
last thing I wanted, Ride, was us to not do the mechanic and die to it, okay?
Yeah. It was light. It was fine.
Okay, what are the rules for the upgrade tokens?
All right,
Um,
who needs a chest in the group?
I do!
I know the healers desperately need it, and
Thanks, do not.
Victoria, do you need legs or chest?
Blair, I will eat your heart.
I do not need legs or chest at this time.
Who needs legs?
I do.
I know tanks do too, but
I say give it to
Siggy, get
Sig
the
first, and then tanks get it next too.
yeah, Siggy can get it first. That's fine.
Alright. Chest. I say
Oh yeah, solvent. Oh,
I'm still running an unupgraded weapon, so I could really use the solvent.
Only
yeah,
one of us
everyone
should
hasn't
have
upgraded.
DPS should be every DPS should roll on the solvent.
Yeah.
Only DPS should roll on it. I already had mine because when we did the FFA with that rando,
yeah.
but
Okay, so DPS still needs solvent.
I do.
Okay.
And twine?
and please no one trade in the 11 books for a solvent. Please.
I mean, isn't there... I mean, who's the one person that needs 3 twine?
I do.
I'll pass then.
I need hat, chest, and boots.
I'd like to get the solvent because then I'd spend all my books on twines. I need 2.
I'm just gonna leave.
I need 2 more twines,
I mean,
but I also need that
needs to
chest
choose
that I don't
twine.
feel I'm getting.
I need 3. Please let me have this first.
I've just been prioritizing DPS.
Set up a gun.
Yeah.
I rolled it 90.
I DC'd right after we finished.
That means
We're still here, you're good.
Means, did you roll anything,
I
Tuna?
passed on the twine.
No, I didn't. I didn't see
you're
that
back.
you
No,
guys
Tina's back.
cleared.
You're back.
Oh. Oh, thank God.
All right, so what are we doing here? Instead of just randomly talking, Ride, make decisions.
I already left the instance. I've just said prioritize DPS.
Okay, that is not a decision.
I
There's
need
no
3
DPS
twines.
that-
Please let me have one this week.
Yeah, no DPS here needs a chest. I think, right?
Yeah.
Or does someone
Except
need a
for
chest?
Val.
Slot.
Val needs the chest.
Valaire claims they do.
All right.
No, they do, because Maiming Chest is no speed, and Dragoon and Reaper are both
Yeah.
no speed. So
Yeah.
they do.
All right. So that chest out of the way, then DPS would be done with chest and legs for the remainder.
And what are we doing with the twine?
The twine, I say, whoever needs 3 should get it.
Thank you.
That is very awful. That
Yeah.
means 12 weeks for them in there just to get twines.
Yeah.
I already left, so I can't get
So,
it, but it's not
good
that big of a
news.
deal to me.
Good news. I'm going to be upgrading my weapon and my chest piece.
Actually, you're not the only one. I have a 4th book, so I'm going to upgrade my weapon.
Now, where did I keep a spare summoner book? There it is.
I don't think I have a spare samurai, so I'll just buy a replica there or whatever.
Augmentation, Disciple of Magic, Augmented Encounter in Lilies. Oh, that feels good.
The reason I'm happy to buy this too is because this way, that next we can go to someone else.
And then take off my chest piece for 2 seconds.
All right, so let's-
Augment my chest piece for 2 seconds.
I can't buy one, can I?
By what?
Oh, I can buy a solvent. Thank God.
It's 4 books.
Okay.
But yeah,
So it's typically a waste to get the solvent.
I just bought it. I figure the next, 6 weeks, everyone else in the group can get it.
Yeah, because that's, let's see, that's my 3rd book. So technically I need 1 twine, 1 book for the other twine. And then technically weapon upgrade, but
okay. And give me a minute to check on my melts, please. Because I never remember them. 6.4 Summoner 248.
11 books should be prioritized on Twine, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
Yeah, they should be.
Little late now, I guess.
I only need one twine. With the build I'm going with so far.
God.
If I go to fix my hands later, then I'll get it. But I never had the tomes or anything.
Feels good.
Congrats on the weapon.
Thanks. Okay. And just wait. Shit, the book is deck crit.
That's not bad,
Okay.
is it?
No, but I bought materia using the raid weapon, which is crit debt, so you need to buy a couple crits instead of another couple debts.
Okay, then do we refresh on the video now? Just in case, or no?
Yes, I would like to, because it's been almost a solid week since we've stepped in 12.
Okay.
Okay, at this point, I just need 2 twines and a raid weapon.
I'm
Well,
gonna
everyone needs a raid weapon later.
Yeah.
screen sharing.
I'm still happy.
Screen sharing the phase 1.
All right.
We'll go to. I've been looking at Paradema 3. I haven't even been looking at Limit Cut.
Limit cut, I'm not looking at that yet.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's just focus on stuff we've seen and Para 3.
Yep. Okay.
That's what I was thinking too.
Okay. I'll make it 1.25.
And then it should be the same direction left or right. For many of these clock spots, it's really easy to adjust them into partners, just as tanks collapsing onto melees and healers collapsing onto ranged. 2 mechanics I want to explain before we do any of the proper fight, because they show up so often mixed with other mechanics. One of them is Trinity of Souls. This is the one you saw from the normal mode version, in which 3 rings appear on the boss, and this indicates 3 half-arena cleaves that go off one after another after the gas bar finishes. However, in Savage mode, we have a variation on this. If the rings go top to bottom, it's normal, but if the rings go bottom to top, the middle ring is a Jabate. While you see the middle ring on the B side, instead the D side is going to get cleaved, because for the middle ring only, the boss will do a 180-degree spin. What this means is that you read the first and the third as they appear, but the second one you do the opposite of how it looks. This can seem really confusing, so I recommend instead memorizing the 3 patterns that you'll see with this. This all works on the premise that from bottom to top, you're only ever going to have to do at most 1 dodge. So if you see the bottom 2 rings on the same side, this means you're doing what's called the early dodge pattern. Start on the safe side, and dodge after the first cleave. The other 2 are always going to be on the other side, and you're fine. If from bottom to top you see the first 2 rings are opposites, and then the third ring appears on the same side as the second one, this is the late dodge pattern. For this one, start on the correct side, wait for 2 cleaves before dodging. Finally, if from bottom to top you see a perfect zigzag in the rings, this is the no dodge. Go to the safe side and stay there and resist the urge to walk into an AoE, because the safe side is consistent for all 3 attacks. Another really common thing we're going to see throughout this fight are these light and dark aspected debuffs. Main tank has the light debuff, off tank has the dark debuff, sometimes referred to as the red debuff. These mean nothing by themselves, but they allow you to deal with mechanics of the opposite element. For instance, H1 and H2 have what's called the tower debuff. H1's debuff is going to drop a light tower, while H2's is going to drop a dark tower. If you try to soak the towers with the same element, the towers will explode, wiping the group. So you need to make sure that they're always soaked by players with the opposite element debuff. Another mechanic we get for this are these lasers you see on M2 and R2. R2 has the light laser, M2 has the dark laser. These lasers are essentially light party line stacks, but they can only be soaked by players with the opposite element. What this means is that you need to have only players with the light aspected debuff with the dark laser, and only dark aspected players with the light laser. If you're a tower player and you get the sides mixed up, it will not kill you immediately, but when your tower drops, you'll have the wrong debuff, and your tower will kill you instead. Now on to the fight. The fight starts with On the Soul, which is a hard-hitting raid-wide, so make sure to mitigate it. Afterwards is Paradema. The first Paradema is always going to spawn 4 adds that will appear on the sides of either the north half of the arena or the south half. What I'm showing here is currently the south half positions. 2 at a time, these adds will target the 2 nearest players with lasers. Since these lasers are going to go off 4 at a time, we have an entire light party line up from middle down to the southern edge, spread out so that they only get hit by 1 laser each, while the other light party hides up in the north. How you line these players up is entirely up to you, but make sure that your melees and tanks are within melee range and that your least mobile players are near to mid. The boss will cast Trinity of Souls during this, and it's always going to be a bottom to top, but what I'm showing here is the late dodge, meaning that the group are going to be on the same side for the first 2 attacks, and then swap over for the third. When Trinity of Souls finishes casting, the first lasers get blasted. The group needs to swap with the second group during this, because each of those lasers gives a magic vuln up, so a person can't take 2 lasers back-to-back without an invuln. We dodge the second half cleave, and because it was a late dodge, the entire group's going to swap sides, while group 2 get into their positions. If this seems a little bit complicated and you don't feel like doing it, let me introduce you to what's referred to as lazy lasers. Here, the tanks are going to be positioned on the same side as the adds, just sort of at the edge of the hitbox. The first laser goes off, and then all we do is Trinity of Souls. The tanks will take all of the lasers, but because they're invulned, they're perfectly fine. Note, it is not possible to time it so that you will still have your invuln up for the next auto attack, and the main tank will have a magic vuln for it, meaning that if you do not mitigate this heavily, your main tank's going to die to the auto. I recommend having your main tank take it with a long and short cooldown, help from the off tank with their short cooldown, and also some healer help, little things like Aqua Veil, Divine Benison, or the sort. The next mechanic is Paradema 2. For this one, you're going to get 4 adds that are always going to spawn at the cardinals, but shifted slightly off center either clockwise or counterclockwise. The boss will cast Engravement of Souls, and we're going to get debuffs, so let me bring up the party list. When Engravement of Souls finishes, the 2 red orbs will spawn adds, but we'll worry about them later. We're going to get Dark and Light Tethers, and we're going to get Dark and Light Tower debuffs. Note that these are role-based, meaning that within the supports, you're going to have one Dark Tower, 1 Dark Tether, 1 Light Tower, 1 Light Tether, and the same for DPS. How we resolve this is quite simple. All you need to do is stretch your tethers out. Max melee directly opposite your add will usually do it just fine. For the debuff players, we need to drop a tower next to a player with a tether of the opposite element. So what we want here is we want those light towers to be right next to the 2 dark tether players, and we want the dark tower players to be next to the light tether players. To do this in an orderly fashion without having to adjust, you can use a simple priority system. Something like DPS always look northwest and then counterclockwise to find the right player they're looking for. Supports always look north and then clockwise. Some groups will do this add relative, where you do a similar priority, but you look at the add and follow them to your position instead. It's entirely up to your group what you choose. However you do it, it should look something like this when you're in the right spots, with 1 player per intercardinal, and they're next to a tethered player with the opposite element. The tethers go off, the towers drop, and now tethered players are just going to wiggle into their towers. Right about now is where you want to look north, because about 2 seconds after the towers resolve, the north adds are going to shoot lasers, cleaving essentially 2 giant lanes of the arena. Just make sure that you avoid where they are, and the lasers will go off and you're fine. There's an On the Soul raid wide, and then we get our Tank Buster. This works very similarly to the Tank Buster in P12S Phase 1, if you remember that one, except for without the bleed. The idea is it's a double swap. So main tank is targeted with the first laser, off tank needs to provoke during the cast, and then off tank will get the second hit, and main tank needs to provoke because each hit gives a magic vuln that will cause you to die to the auto if you don't swap back again. Note that this Tank Buster hits incredibly hard, so make sure you're popping plenty of cooldowns. Next up is Super Chain Theory 1. After the big flash on the screen, you're going to see some chains appear, and now let me take a second to these down. The green orb works exactly the same way it did in normal mode. It's an out. Note that being on the cardinal waymarks on either side of it is perfect distance to be out. The blue donut is an in, and being inside of the cardinal waymarks will make sure you're always on the in. The red spiky one is protein wave style spreads, so you need all your players in their clock spots. And the purple one is instead partners. Super Chain Theory 1 is always going to be the same basic combo with some slight variations. First off, a random corner is going to have either in-out combined with spread or pairs. You just resolve both of them at the exact same time. The 2 adjacent corners will appear next, and one's an out, one's an in. We will always dodge towards the in. Finally, the last one is always going to be an in followed by an out, or an out followed by an in, the longer tether going off second. So the one that you see here is an out, then in. After the flash, look at your first 2, in this case it's an in and spread, and immediately get yourself into those positions, so hugging tight to the cluster in this case, and in their clock spots. The boss will cast Engravement of Souls. Before it finishes, you're going to be able to see your next safe spot. In this case, the group's going to all head to 1 because it's the donut. And when Engravement of Souls finishes casting, we get a bunch of the light and dark debuffs appearing. What you're going to have is, within one roll, you're going to have a light laser, a dark laser, a light tower, a dark tower. The other roll is going to have 2 light aspected players, 2 dark aspected players, and if you look at the DPS, that final debuff is a spread we'll worry about near the end. Just take note of your debuff while staying in the initial positions, waiting for the mechanic to go off. Afterwards, we're going to start dodging towards the safe spot, the donut. And while doing this, this is where it's important that we take note of our debuffs, because the lasers are about to go off. We need to have the dark laser player stacked with all 3 of the light aspected players, and the light laser stacked with all 3 of the dark aspected players. A simple way to remember how to do this, something that I first heard, I think, from Yuki Zuri, is light left, red right, lasers opposite. So all the light players are left facing in, all of the red players or dark players are right facing in. The lasers are the only ones that do the opposite of that pattern to make sure they're with the opposite element players. As long as you're within the donut and in your correct groups, the donut and the point blank will go off, the lasers go off, and you're fine. Now we head to the final corner. In this case, it's an out followed by an in, so the group will go near to it, wait for the out to go off, and then adjust into the donut afterwards. When doing so, we worry about our final debuffs. That we need to worry about are the towers in particular. For this, we have the tower players go to the left and the right relative within the safe spot, with the light player going left and the dark player going right. The 2 other supports that had the lasers are going to go on the same side they went for their laser, but they want to start off north or south just to make sure that they're out of the way of the towers and don't get clipped. Afterwards, they're going to be the ones to soak the towers. Finally, all of the other roll, in this case, all of the DPS have this spread debuff here. This goes off at the same time that the towers resolve, which is why none of them can soak the towers. They just need to get away. For this, you have melees run all the way through the boss, and range run directly opposite the boss. Wait until the second part of the in-out or out-in goes off, and then start to move. Focus on getting away from the tower players because the towers go off very quickly, and getting clipped will usually lead to you dying. Afterwards now, the DPS or whoever has the spreads can spread, and the laser players go in to soak their towers. When all's done, you just get a Trinity of Souls that's either top to bottom or bottom to top. For the most part, this is just a chance for you to be able to res anybody who died at the end of Super Chain. Afterwards is one of 2 mechanics. Apodiologos is going to target the furthest player with a 2-person tank buster, and the nearest player with a stack. So the
Okay, so Siggy, this is the one where you were talking about like me going like to A or something, or like north consistently or something. Siggy.
Muted. Yeah, this is the one I was talking about. Either when you were, it was relative north or north, because we weren't sure if we could position the boss in the center at the time. I thought.
Okay, so like basically like, so yeah, just relative north in general. Okay.
Yeah, it's that way, so that the party has to go out, DPS get positionals.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. Okay, just wanted to confirm.
tanks need to be stacked at the edge, and the group needs to be stacked in the middle. Peridialogos, on the other hand, is the exact opposite. The nearest player gets the 2-person tank buster, and the furthest player gets the stack. So tank's middle, party goes to the edge. People sometimes remember this with parry, party out. Be aware that this is a pretty hard-hitting tank buster, and it comes with a bleed, so make sure tanks are mitigating it. When all said and done, you get on the soul raid wide, and then the boss is going to cast another Paradema. Paradema 3. This is always going to spawn 4 adds east and west in the exact same positions. The boss will start to cast Engravement of Souls, and you want to lightly spread out. DPS just want to be spread so they can see what tether they're about to get, and tanks and healers don't have to be spread, but sometimes it helps to conga line to help you to figure out your priority in a second. Because when Engravement of Souls finishes, all of the supports are going to get debuffs. One player is going to get a plus, one player is going to get an X, and the other 2 players are going to get towers of the same element, either both light or both dark. The DPS are always all going to get tethered. 2 of them light, 2 of them dark, and light and dark tethers are always going to come from the same side. We're also going to get the boss casting Unnatural Enchainment and destroying 4 of the platforms in a zigzag pattern, and we get towers on the 4 safe platforms. It's a lot to deal with, but there's a simple procedure to how to figure out where to go. First, the plus and the X player should have fixed positions. My group had the plus always go north, the X always go south. The other 2 supports need to go east and west, and this is why I had them line up beforehand. Usually you want a priority for this. What I've got here is essentially the healer anchor version, where the healers will always go west or east respectively, and the tanks adjust. In this case, main tank is going to go west, and off tank is going to go east. For the tethers, these are a little bit tricky. If you can stretch your tether perfectly horizontally, like these 2 players can, you do so, and you only go out far enough to make sure that your tether is just changed into the stretched version. If you can't stretch it horizontally without standing on a platform that's about to be destroyed, you instead cross the tethers. Cross tethers want to go all the way to the edge of that platform that they're on, but they also only want to go out as far as they need to stretch their tether. It's a little bit finicky, but if the horizontal tethers are perfectly horizontal and the stretched cross tethers only go far enough to stretch their tethers, you should be all right and nobody's going to get clipped. Be aware this does mean that the supports that are in the towers between the tethers need to use their eyes. Remember that the tethers are about to turn into lasers, and you don't want to get hit by those lasers, so adjust slightly to the north or south edge towards the crossed tether player within your tower. We also get these adds appearing, but we'll deal with them later. Unnatural Enchainment is going to go off, the towers get resolved, the chained platforms get destroyed, and the tethers go off. Now we need to deal with the debuffs. The player with the plus needs to go all the way to the outside corner, and the player with the X needs to go all the way to the inside outer corner. This is because they're going to drop telegraphed AoEs, and you want to make sure that you leave as much of the inside platform safe as possible. Now we need to deal with the tower player debuffs, in this case the tanks. What the tanks should have been doing is when they were sat in their towers, they're looking at the tethers that were in front of them. Main tank has a light tower and is on a side with 2 dark tethers. This makes life quite easy for them because all they need to do is move in and drop that tower somewhere on the platform away from those players. Similarly, R1 and R2 are just going to make sure they're not in the Telegraph X AoE, but also not too near to the main tank to get clipped by their tower. The off tank has it a little bit trickier. See, they have a light tower, but the 2 players on their side had light tethers. That means that they can't drop the platform, their tower just anywhere on the platform. Instead, they need to go perfectly middle. The idea is that if they drop their tower here, a little part of the tower is going to leak over to the other platform, and one of the dark aspected DPS can soak it instead. With everybody in the right position, now it's time to deal with the adds. These will target the 2 nearest players with lasers. One of those players should always be the supports that dropped the plus and the X. They just need to go in slightly and make sure they're one of the nearest players. The other laser baits should be done by the DPS who aren't taking towers. In this case, M1 and M2. They've got the light debuff, they can't soak the light tower, so instead they go to the cardinal waymarks nearest to them, and that'll allow them to be the other person to bait the laser. Be aware that the dark aspected DPS, the ones that are about to soak towers in this case, need to just make sure they're not too far near to the cardinal waymarks, otherwise they might bait a laser instead. The telegraphs go off, the lasers go off, the towers drop, and now all that's left is for the DPS who can soak towers to soak towers. Usual pattern is for the crossed tether player to soak the middle tower, and the straight tether player to soak the outer tower. With all that done, the boss is going to cast On the Soul, and make sure that you move towards middle because you're probably going to be low on health. Your healers need to be able to top you up. On the Soul will also restore all the platforms back. We get another tank buster, including the swaps. And then the boss is going to turn around, spawn some adds in, and start to glow. Mitigate what's about to be a very hard-hitting raid.
Yeah, that's the raid wide, and then that's the end of Para 3. Okay.
All right. So, like the way Siggy was saying it earlier, we're going to do DPS south, tanks north.
Like
Or
relative.
tank mustard?
Relative north, but yeah, that idea.
All right.
Yo, I am
Because
so sorry.
that should at least solve the problem, because basically we were just always running around with like chickens with our head cut off instead.
True. Very
Because
true.
everyone just assumed out to be just get out of the center. And then we would hope to converge, but... my routine is finished.
Just got to remember light left, red right, except for lasers, right?
Oh, hold on a sec. Ride, look at static no mic.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, that should be fun. Thanks. Yeah. Oh, don't worry. It's basically out of your control.